My key didn't turn. I stood there on the porch, exhausted, still wearing the hospital smell on my clothes, and my key just wouldn't fit. Through the living room window, I could see them. Brenda, my stepmother, lounging on my mother's favorite chair with a glass of wine. Veronica, her daughter, feet up on the coffee table, laughing at something on her phone. I knocked. The sound felt hollow against the wood. Brenda looked up, met my eyes through the glass, and smiled. Not a kind smile. A winning smile. She walked to the door but didn't open it. Just stood there, separated by wood and glass, and said loud enough for me to hear, "Your mother won't last the week. We're taking over early." My hand trembled on the doorknob. Not from fear. From something colder. I turned and walked back to my truck without saying a word. Behind me, I heard Veronica laugh. My name is Sutton Vance, and I had just spent 48 hours watching my mother fade. The hospital room smelled like bleach and sadness. Mom's hand felt like paper in mine, her breathing shallow and uneven. The nurses moved quietly, their expressions telling me what the doctors wouldn't say directly. She had days, maybe a week. I hadn't slept. Hadn't eaten anything but vending machine crackers. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the monitors, heard the beeping, felt the weight of knowing this was the end. So when I came home to find the locks changed, when I saw Brenda's smug face through the window, something inside me shifted. Not broke, just shifted. I sat in my truck, staring at my phone, and pulled up the documents folder I'd saved months ago. The house deed. My fingers stopped shaking. Because right there, in black text, was my name. Sutton Marie Vance. Only mine. I called the police non-emergency line. My voice came out steady, almost calm. I need to report an illegal lockout and trespassing. The dispatcher's tone was routine at first. Can you explain the situation? I'm the legal owner of a property. I returned from visiting my dying mother at the hospital and found the locks changed. 2 people are inside refusing me entry. There was a pause. Do you have proof of ownership? Yes. I have the deed on my phone. It's in my name only. Her tone shifted immediately. Professional, alert. Stay in a safe location. Officers are being dispatched now. I hung up and waited. The porch light was on. Through the window, Brenda poured herself more wine. She had no idea what was coming. Neither did I, really. But I knew it would be fair. And sometimes fair is all you need. 2 patrol cars pulled up within 15 minutes. Officers Brennan and Torres stepped out, scanning the property. I met them on the driveway, holding my phone. You're the property owner? Officer Brennan asked. Yes, ma'am. I pulled up the deed and handed her my phone. She studied it carefully, zooming in on the details. Officer Torres knocked on the door. Brenda answered, all sweetness and concern. Officers, thank goodness you're here. My stepdaughter is being very dramatic. Veronica appeared behind her, dabbing at dry eyes. She's been unstable since her mother got sick. We're worried about her. Officer Brennan held up my phone, screen facing Brenda. Ma'am, according to this legal document, Sutton Vance is the sole owner of this property. Her name is on the deed. Yours is not. Brenda's face went white, then red. That's impossible. My husband owns this house. Officer Brennan's expression didn't change. Is his name on this deed? Silence. Brenda's voice pitched higher. She forged it. She must have. Arthur bought this house. Ma'am, Officer Torres said calmly, this is a county-recorded deed. You can't forge that. If you have documentation proving otherwise, you're welcome to show us. Brenda sputtered, her polished mask cracking. She doesn't even live here anymore. Doesn't matter, Officer Brennan said. She owns the property. You cannot change locks and deny her entry. That's illegal. Veronica grabbed her mother's arm. Mom, just let her in. We'll sort this out later. But Brenda wasn't done. My husband will hear about this. Your husband should have been named on the deed then, Officer Torres said. He looked at me. Miss Vance, do you want to enter your home? I nodded. Yes, please. Officer Brennan stepped aside. You're free to go in. I walked past Brenda, close enough to hear her breathing hard through her nose. Veronica whispered something harsh that I didn't catch. The door I'd been locked out of 20 minutes ago swung open under my hand. Inside, the house looked wrong. My mother's photo frames were stacked in a corner, faces down. The furniture had been rearranged. The rug Mom loved, the one with tiny blue flowers, was bunched up against the wall like trash. I walked into the living room and saw wine rings on the coffee table. Her coffee table. My hands went cold. I moved toward the hallway. Mom's bedroom door was open. Inside, drawers hung open, clothes scattered. I opened her jewelry box. Empty. Completely empty. The pearls my grandfather gave her. The silver bracelet she wore every day. The small diamond ring Dad gave her before he married Brenda. All gone. My throat tightened. I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures. Every moved piece of furniture. Every missing item. Every drawer left open. Officer Brennan appeared in the doorway. Everything okay? No, I said quietly. They stole from her. Officer Brennan called Officer Torres inside. I showed them the jewelry box, the scattered belongings, the missing heirlooms. I can file a report for theft and property damage, she said, pulling out a notepad. I want to file it. She began writing. Outside, I could hear Brenda's voice rising. Arthur's truck pulled into the driveway. My father. The man who used to read me bedtime stories. The man who married Brenda 6 months after Mom moved out. He came inside, eyes darting between the officers and me. Sutton, what's going on? Your wife changed the locks while I was at the hospital with Mom. His face twitched. Brenda said you've been difficult lately. Difficult? I held up my phone. Dad, my name is on this deed. Mine. Not yours. Not Brenda's. Mom put it in my name 2 years ago. And now Brenda and Veronica stole Mom's jewelry while I was watching her die. Arthur's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at Brenda, who stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Arthur, she's lying. Officer Torres stepped forward. Sir, does this property have security cameras? Arthur blinked. Yes. 2. Front porch and back door. We'd like to review the footage. Arthur hesitated. Brenda's face went tight. That's not necessary. Actually, ma'am, if theft has been reported, it's very necessary. Arthur walked to the small office off the kitchen. We followed. He pulled up the security app on the desktop computer, hands shaking slightly. Officer Brennan leaned over his shoulder. Go back 48 hours. He scrolled. Then we saw it. Clear as day. Brenda and Veronica hauling bags out of the house. Laughing. Veronica holding up Mom's jewelry box, shaking it at the camera like a trophy. Brenda's voice came through the audio, muffled but distinct. She won't need any of this where she's going. My stomach turned. Arthur's face went pale. Brenda lunged forward. Turn it off. But Officer Torres was already taking notes. We'll need a copy of this footage. After the officers left with copies of everything, Brenda switched tactics. She softened her voice, stepping closer. Sutton, sweetheart, let's not make this bigger than it needs to be. We're family. I didn't look at her. Just kept organizing the scattered photos. You changed the locks while I was holding my mother's hand. I made a mistake, she said, trying for gentle. I thought we were helping. Veronica chimed in from the couch. You're being so dramatic. It's jewelry, Sutton. It's not like it means anything. I stopped. Turned. Looked at her straight on. It means everything. Arthur stepped between us. Your mother wouldn't want this conflict. That word. Mother. From his mouth. I felt something crack open. Don't talk about my mother. My voice came out quiet, steady. Don't you dare talk about her. He flinched. I grabbed my keys. I'm going back to the hospital. Brenda called after me. Sutton, please. I closed the door. Let the silence answer. Mom's room was dim, just one small lamp by the bed. Machines beeped softly. I sat in the chair I'd been living in for 2 days and took her hand. It felt lighter than before. Colder. Her eyes fluttered open. You're back, she whispered. I'm back. She tried to smile. Something happened. I didn't want to tell her. Didn't want her last days filled with anger and hurt. But then she squeezed my hand, weak but insistent. Tell me. So I did. I told her about the locks, the jewelry, the footage. I told her about Arthur siding with Brenda even when the proof was right in front of him. When I finished, she didn't cry. She just looked at me with clear, tired eyes. Don't protect people who never protected you. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it landed like thunder. I broke then. Tears I'd been holding back for weeks spilled over. She touched my face. Finish it, Sutton. For both of us. I kissed her forehead. I promise. I stayed with Mom until visiting hours ended. When I got back to the house, it was quiet. Brenda and Veronica were gone. Arthur sat in the living room, staring at nothing. I ignored him and went to my room. My laptop was still there. I opened it and searched for Mom's jewelry online. Within 10 minutes, I found it. Listed on a local resale site. Seller name, V. Hartwell. Veronica. I took screenshots of everything. The listings, the descriptions, the photos showing items I'd seen in Mom's jewelry box my entire life. My hands didn't shake this time. I called Officer Brennan. She answered on the second ring. Miss Vance? I found the stolen items. They're listed online for sale. Send me everything you have. I did. She called back 5 minutes later. We can retrieve the items and file theft charges. I'll get a warrant. Thank you. I hung up and sat in the dark, staring at the screen. Veronica's profile picture smiled back at me. Arthur knocked on my door the next morning. "Can we talk?" I let him in. He sat on the edge of my bed, looking older than I remembered. "Your mother and I had problems, Sutton. But I never wanted this." "Then why did you let it happen?" He didn't answer. I pulled a folder from my desk drawer. Inside were bank statements, credit card bills, receipts from hotels. Evidence of gambling debts. Evidence of his affair with Brenda while Mom was still living here. "I found these last year," I said quietly. "Mom asked me to look into some missing money." His face drained of color. "Sutton, please. She doesn't know about the gambling. Or how bad the debts are. But she deserves to know about Brenda. She deserves to die honest." He stood up fast. "You can't tell her that. It'll destroy her. You already destroyed her, Dad. I'm just cleaning up the truth." He left without another word. I heard his truck start. Heard it drive away. The house felt lighter. I went to the hospital that afternoon. Mom was awake, barely. The nurse said her vitals were dropping. I held her hand and told her gently. About the affair timeline. About how Brenda had been in the picture long before the divorce. Mom closed her eyes. One tear slid down her cheek. Then she opened her eyes and looked at me. "Thank you." Her voice was so faint I almost missed it. "Thank you for letting me die honest." I stayed with her through the night. Around 3 in the morning, her breathing changed. Slowed. The nurse came in, checked the monitors, and touched my shoulder. "It won't be long now." At 4:17, Mom took her last breath. Quiet. Peaceful. I held her hand until it went cold. Then I stood up, walked outside into the dark parking lot, and let the grief wash over me. When the sun came up, I was still standing there. Unbreakable. I filed everything the next week. Civil suits for property damage, theft, illegal lockout, emotional distress, and fraud. Arthur and Brenda received summons at the house. Veronica got hers along with criminal theft charges. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Ms. Ortega, didn't waste time. "They made this easy for you," she said, reviewing the evidence. "Footage, listings, witnesses. This is open and shut." Brenda called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. Finally, a voicemail. Her voice shaking, high-pitched, desperate. "Sutton, you can't do this to us. We're family. Your father is devastated. Please, please call me back." I deleted it. Arthur showed up at the house that night. I didn't let him in. He stood on the porch, pleading through the door. "Your mother just died. Can't we have peace? You didn't give her peace. Why should I give you any?" He left. I watched him go. Felt nothing. The court date came fast. Ms. Ortega was ready. Brenda's lawyer looked tired before we even started. I presented the deed, the police reports, the security footage, the online listings, the screenshots. Everything. The judge, an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, reviewed each piece of evidence carefully. Brenda tried to speak. "Your Honor, this is a family misunderstanding." The judge held up a hand. "Ma'am, changing locks on a property you don't own is illegal. Stealing jewelry and attempting to sell it online is theft. There's no misunderstanding here." Brenda's lawyer winced. Arthur stared at the table. Veronica looked like she might cry for real this time. The judge ruled in my favor on every count. Full damages. Return of all stolen property. Restraining orders. Then she looked at Brenda. You have 24 hours to vacate the property. Brenda gasped. We have nowhere to go. The judge's expression didn't change. That's not the court's concern. Sheriff enforcement is approved. A large orange notice appeared on the front door the next morning. Court-ordered eviction. 24 hours to vacate. I watched from my truck as neighbors slowed down, reading it. Brenda came outside, saw the notice, and ripped it down. Another officer walked up and taped a second one. Removing this is obstruction, ma'am. She crumpled it in her fists, breathing hard. Veronica stood in the doorway, phone out, recording everything like it might help. Arthur loaded boxes into his truck, moving like a man in a dream. Mrs. Chin from next door stopped her morning walk to stare. Mr. Kapoor slowed his car. By noon, half the street knew. Brenda screamed at Arthur in the driveway. This is your fault. You should have put the house in your name. It was Carolyn's house, he said quietly. It was always hers. And now it's Sutton's, I said from the porch. They both looked up. I stood there, arms folded, silent. For once, I had nothing left to say. The sheriff's deputies arrived the next day at 9 in the morning. 3 of them, calm and professional. Officer Brennan was there too. I stayed on the porch while they knocked. Brenda opened the door. You can't do this. Ma'am, we have a court order. She tried to close the door. One deputy caught it with his boot. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Veronica appeared, wild-eyed. This is abuse. She's abusing us. Officer Brennan's expression didn't shift. You have 10 minutes to gather personal belongings and leave the property. Brenda grabbed a vase from the entry table and threw it. It shattered near a deputy's feet. He didn't flinch. Just spoke into his radio. We need backup for obstruction and assault on an officer. Brenda's face went white. 2 more patrol cars pulled up. Ma'am, you're under arrest. They put her in handcuffs. Veronica screamed. Arthur just stood there, frozen, watching his wife being loaded into a patrol car. The deputies cleared the house. Brenda and Veronica were escorted off the property in handcuffs, both shouting. Arthur gathered trash bags of clothes and stumbled to his truck. Neighbors watched from porches, driveways, windows. Phones out. Recording everything. Mrs. Chin shook her head. Mr. Kapoor's teenage son whispered something to his dad. I stood on the porch, exactly where Brenda had stood when she locked me out. Officer Brennan walked over. You okay? I'm fine. She nodded. For what it's worth, you handled this right. The last patrol car pulled away. Arthur sat in his truck for a long moment, then drove off without looking back. The house was silent. Empty. Mine. Veronica's voice echoed from somewhere down the street. Where will we go? I didn't answer. It wasn't my problem anymore. I walked inside and locked the door. The new locks. The ones I had installed that morning. They turned smoothly under my hand. I spent the next week cleaning. Every corner Brenda had touched. Every space Veronica had invaded. I scrubbed floors, wiped down walls, opened windows. Threw out the wine glasses, the magazines, the cheap perfume bottles left behind. I reclaimed my mother's jewelry from police evidence. Each piece felt heavier than I remembered. I placed them carefully back in her jewelry box. The one that should have never been touched. I changed my phone number. Blocked Arthur, Brenda, and Veronica on every platform. My lawyer called with an update. They're facing criminal charges now. Theft, obstruction, assault on an officer. Brenda's looking at jail time. Good, I said. And I meant it. A realtor came by to assess the house. It's a great property. You'll get full asking price, easy. I signed the listing agreement that afternoon. Within 3 days, I had an offer. Cash buyer. No contingencies. I accepted. The house that held so much pain would become someone else's fresh start. I moved to Portland 2 months later. Small apartment, big windows, city I'd never been to. I started over. Found work at a nonprofit. Made friends who didn't know my history. People who saw me for who I was, not who my family tried to make me. Arthur called once from a number I didn't recognize. I listened to the voicemail. Sutton, I'm sorry. For everything. Brenda and I are separated. Veronica won't speak to me. I just wanted you to know. I deleted it. Didn't call back. Some apologies come too late. Brenda sent a letter to my old address. It got forwarded. I threw it away unopened. I didn't need her words. The last I heard, she was living with her sister, facing trial, working at a grocery store to pay legal fees. Veronica moved back in with her biological father. Arthur lived alone in a rental across town. I didn't feel triumph. Didn't feel bitterness. Just relief. Quiet, steady relief. One morning, I stood on my apartment balcony, coffee in hand, watching the city wake up. My phone buzzed. A message from Ms. Ortega. Final settlement came through. Deposited to your account. I looked at the balance. Enough to breathe. Enough to build. Enough to finally live. Peace, I realized, wasn't about revenge. It was about choosing yourself when everyone else chose themselves first. And for the first time in my life, I had mine. If you've ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours, you're not alone. Drop a comment and let me know where you're from. And if stories like this mean something to you, hit subscribe so we can meet here again.